What is going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. Good morning. Welcome back to DSM Pregame Live here exclusively on DSM Media's YouTube channel. Guys, first and foremost, as always, if you are new to the channel, make sure to head on over to @DSM_media on Twitter. Hit that follow button. We greatly appreciate it. And while you're over on the channel, make sure that you check out the link tree. It's in our bio. It will take you to every social media platform we are available on. If you guys want to be interactive on today's show or check out any of our DSM pregame lives, as I said, the YouTube channel exclusively is the home for all those. So make sure you turn on notifications, you hit that subscribe button. And like I said, is the best spot to get your questions pulled up on the screen and to be interactive with your host here. I am one half of them, Dylan Davis. You can find me on Twitter @DylanJD98. To my left, my co-host Scotty. You can find him on Twitter as well @ScottyDrown. Sixers Nets Game 4 preview. My man, what's going on?
Hey man, happy Saturday to you. Happy Sixers game day. I got a little extra juice for it today. So yeah, I'm happy to be here to talk some Sixers with you, man, this morning, because I know this isn't going to be live, but nonetheless, we will be turning up before the Sixers game, probably as you guys are watching this, because me and Dylan are linking up later today, and we're gonna celebrate once the Sixers get this sweep done. So I got a little extra juice today. I don't know if it's because Embiid is out and the playing field's a little leveled or whatever it is. I really just want to punch Brooklyn in the mouth and get them up out of the playoffs.
Man. I told you yesterday morning on the Faithful Fanatic show, man. I've never wanted a game 3 so badly with the way Brooklyn's game plan was playing out. And you mentioned no Joel Embiid. That was the breaking news last night. MRI reveals a sprained right knee. So he's out for game 4 today. And that's where we'll lead off the show, right? There's two sides of the line you could be on. And I think last night when it initially came out, I would say you were leaning towards the precautionary side. And I don't view that as wrong, but is there more to it here? So the two sides would be this. Brooklyn is playing somewhat dirty. They're playing extra physical. Their head coach is preaching to hit somebody, which I know he really just means get a body, but it sounds bad with the way you kind of see some cheap shots being taken at Joel's back and the arm clamps and everything like that. It can be used. It can be precautionary because they're up 3-0. They think they can beat this Nets team without Joel on the floor. At worst, they lose today. It maybe goes 5 back in Philly, or same old story. He's hurt every season come playoff time, and this is a real injury, and there's something more to this, and you're concerned moving forward. Which side of the line are you telling right now?
So where I'm at right now, I'm gonna stay on the more optimistic side. I'm gonna think that this is precautionary. I'm gonna think that this is just because of the way Brooklyn is playing, and if Embiid needed to go for game 4 today, if it wasn't 3-0 right now, right on the brink of a sweep, I think that Embiid would be playing ultimately. He said after the game the other night that he felt okay, right? I know he was grabbing at the knee, so I don't think that it's like some non-existent injury. I do think there is knee soreness. There is a little bit of a sprain there. But do I think that this is something that would keep him out of a game 7, an important game or a closeout game? Say they're it's a 3-2, whatever the case may be. Do I think it would keep him out of like a more important game, a more competitive matchup? I don't. And the reason that I decide, because it's a decision to think that way, right? The reason that I decide to think that way is because if it is more serious, and if the knee ligament is partially torn, or the knee is a lot more serious than what we're thinking, well, then the season's over. So I don't need to think that way. I don't need to go down that rabbit hole yet. I would say I'm not going to panic, Dylan, until he would be ruled out for game 1 against Boston. I would say that is a very important game. I would say that you need to kind of you need to throw your best punch in that game 1 to try to steal one in Boston. So that's where my panic, that's where my concern, that's where maybe my pessimism will come into play, is if and when he is ruled out, ruled questionable, probable, doubtful, whatever the case may be for that Boston series. And maybe the panic comes in if the Sixers lose today. Maybe if that happens, maybe then I start to worry if this series gets drawn out. We're starting to play more games that we don't need to play. and Embiid's still not playing, then yeah, I'll panic there as well. But as of right now, one game after game 3, when Embiid got pushed in the back, you fell on the floor multiple times. Got what was it? Cam Johnson was like under his legs, and then he gets pushed
Yeah,
back,
he went for a block,
and that's when he
landed, fell over him.
So like all of these things happened in that game. We saw it for ourselves. His body's probably beat up, man, and that's just
Absolutely
a fact. And you have a little bit of room, a little bit of an opportunity, a window to get him some early rest and to not, put him out there with this team that, let's be honest, man, we talked about it on the morning show yesterday, actually. This is a Brooklyn team that is not there is no line that they won't cross just to win one game. Like, not to win the series. They can't win the series. Just to win one game, they will not stop on any measures in order to do that. So in that case, I kind of get, if it is precautionary, I kind of get why you would do that.
No, 100%. And their players and their head coach, I've never watched and heard other players, because it's a players league, right? And they all, it's a brotherhood. And I've never heard other coaches campaign for someone to be suspended for a game. They're corny, dude. They're getting really, really frustrating. And I want them disposed of today, because I don't want to deal with this team anymore. Yeah. I think there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. I think this is definitely precautionary. I think that if Joel needed to play today, he could. Especially with the way you see them guarding him, with the way the way you see them getting under his skin, the way you see them being extra physical with him. I think it's a smart move in that sense. Now, when it comes to the injury itself, it is interesting because it's also one of these things, man, where like, all right, they said an MRI came back, and it shows a sprain. It's not like he's got soreness or whatever. That's what they used, but like he was grabbing at his knee all game. He was limping up and down the court a couple times, but then like he seals the game with a ridiculous chase down block. Yeah. He's celebrating. You saw the video of him and Harden laughing, walking to the locker room. He wasn't limping. So, like, I'm sure that, and like, listen, I know even like with a torn ACL, you can walk. Like we saw Carson Wentz walk and throw a touchdown on a torn ACL. There's things you can do with actual injuries, but like, I don't think it's as serious as it could possibly be. Within the report, within Ramona Shelbourne and Woj's tweets, the thing that stood out to me that I was like a little hesitant about, but then I realized it was Friday night, was the last part of the tweet where it said there's optimism Joel could return as early as next week. And I'm like, wait a second. Yeah. Optimism. It wasn't just Joel Embiid out game 1 or out game 4. Like there's optimism. But if it's early next week, Monday or Tuesday, and last night was Friday night, you know what I mean? Like they're not even going to play Boston then yet. So I don't know what to really read into it. You just, again, have to knock on wood that it is the Sixers organization and Joel being precautionary. You would hope that they can take care of business today without him. Man, I would say the only frustrating part to it all is it's like, it's not so much his fault, but it's like, it's the same story, man. It's every playoff run. And last year wasn't his fault. He gets his face broken from Siakam's elbow. Like, but it's all the time. And I would ask you this, man. Listen, like he's been shoved in the back. He's got his arm clamped down on. He's been smacked in the face in game 1 and fell to the floor. But we know that Joel, I feel like I get it. He's 7'2", doing incredible things. He hits the floor unnecessarily a lot of times. He puts his body in risk. That Cam Johnson chase down was unnecessary. He wasn't going to get, like, I know he can, like, you never know with Joel, right? He makes incredible defensive plays at the rim. Cam made it. When I was watching that play, I'm like, no, because he's either going to foul him or he's not going to get there. He misses the block. Cam lands, and he puts his body in a vulnerable position where he lands on him, almost lands on his head. Then he's grabbing at his knee on the floor, doesn't get back in the play on offense. The Royce O'Neal fall, did Royce bump him with his chest? Yeah, I think so. I actually think, like, when people are like, oh, Embiid flops, like, it's definitely a foul. He also sold the hell out of it and hit the floor unnecessarily. Do you think he puts his body on the floor too often sometimes? Like, dude, before the season started, remember they were teaching him how to fall properly to adjust his weight, like where he was falling?
Yeah, and it's kind of wild you say that because it came
Like, I'm
out,
not trying to
that he
pick
had.
on Joe, but
I know, yeah, I know what you mean, but it like you just said at the end there, basically what has been reported is that the doctors tell him to fall like that rather than trying to stay up in place and then maybe
right.
twist your legs up because he is a longer
Right,
guy.
but when you fall
But
11 times a night,
yeah,
like,
and I think the thing with that Cam Johnson play is that is just such like an unavoidable play in a sense. Like I do get what you're saying if he doesn't go for the block, but in that game in the moment, it's his instincts that are playing. When
I
he's on the
get it. It's like a
defensive end.
quarterback when it was like
Yeah,
Carson Wentz. It's like certain quarterbacks when you try to
it's
tell
like
them like get out of bounds.
even if his ACL is torn, his body and his mind is still going to tell him to go for that block, right? Like,
I
and I'm
get
just
it.
speaking, I'm just speaking hypothetically. Like, his body and his mind is going to tell him to do it, even if his body can't even do it. But I do get what you're saying, and I don't know. I think it's like instinctual because he's having such a tough game in game 3, scoring the ball, right? He just can't get a bucket. He ends the game with like 16 points in that game. And I just think when he gets in those situations, he tries to overexert himself in other areas of the game. That's why we saw in game 2 the 19 rebounds.
I also think he
We've
was
seen
extremely frustrated.
the incredible defensive efforts. Yeah, it is completely frustrating on top of all of that. So I think that's where that play is kind of unavoidable.
I mean,
And
I hear you. I really do. Like his mind's telling him one thing. It's
yeah,
instinctual as an athlete.
I
And that
just
the type of player he is.
it is draining though.
But
To
to
your point,
me, it's like, dude, that happened in what, the middle of the third quarter? Like, if that was the Dinwiddie play, if Dinwiddie blew by him, and this is to tie the game, he's going to sell out for it. I
yeah,
don't love the idea of him selling out for a chase down block. Then again, he's not assuming he's putting his body in a vulnerable position.
yeah.
But when I watch it and you see the outcome,
I
I sit
mean,
back and I go, how do you not foresee this
yeah.
happening?
And Dylan, it's crazy because it's just part of being a Sixers fan, I feel like, where we just hold our breath every time that he drives to the lane. Like every single time that he drives to the
Yeah,
lane and
man.
goes up for a dunk, bro, I have to literally
Oh,
hold my
and
breath.
I'll tell you what else is draining, not knowing what's real and what's not with him.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Joel will
How do
grab
we
at
know?
things unnecessarily when he makes a mistake
Yeah.
or something happens, and then you're like, "Oh, no, no,
The
no, no."
back.
And then
Yeah.
he plays 3 more quarters and he's dunking on people and there's no
Yeah.
reports after the game.
See, and that's on Joel when he does things like
Yeah.
that. That's accountability at the end of the day. You miss a layup, don't hold your back, bro. Like if your back isn't actually hurting.
And don't
Like
tell me he doesn't do it, Sixers fans,
he
because he
does do
freaking does
that.
it.
Yes, he absolutely does do that, Dylan. What I would say just to kind of I don't
Yeah.
know if you want to wrap up
Wrap
that
this up.
that
Yeah, yeah,
point,
yeah.
but to wrap up, the Joel Embiid injury and kind of segue into today's game, I think there's two more things we could say about it. One, it does give Joel a little extra time to clear his mind and get mentally focused. Say
Mhm.
the Sixers can close this out today. Get your mind right, get your body right, especially, but get your mind right for that Boston series because that series is going to be so much more frustrating. Like, if you are this frustrated against the Brooklyn Nets right now, you have not seen anything that is about to happen in that Boston series. I mean, when we are in Boston, it is going to be insane for those first two games.
Listen,
He's got
I
to get
agree.
mentally
I agree
prepared for
with
that.
you. And I think from a player's point of view, absolutely, especially with the rivalry and the bad blood and Marcus Smart and Al Horford and I might have to block his sister on Twitter because
Oh
I'm not
my
going to be able to deal with
God,
that.
Al Horford.
However,
Mm.
I think for me as a fan, I will be less annoyed in the Boston series because there's something to me like that bothers me about non-talented teams.
I feel you on
So the
that.
shit talking, the peskiness, the physicality from a team that doesn't have a shot in hell, like
Yeah,
the Brooklyn Nets, that frustrates me more than anything. Boston, they might be better than the Sixers. So if
yeah.
they're getting under the Sixers skin, if they're out shooting the Sixers, hey, they might be the favorites to win the
Look,
championship.
Boston can actually play the Sixers straight up. They don't have to
Yeah.
do the dirty stuff, right? Like
Yep.
Marcus Smart may do some questionable things, but nothing more than what Embiid has done, right? Like
Right.
Embiid, you could argue he's done some questionable things, especially that kick in the last game, right? Borderline stuff, right? He never truly crosses that like dirty line of like Draymond Green.
Marcus Smart toes it a little bit.
Marcus Smart toes it a little bit. I think that's the most that you'll see. Might flare up once or twice in this series, but you've seen other times where Marcus Smart will help Embiid get up off the floor. They have like a respect for each other in a sense, I feel. So I don't see Boston doing anything disingenuous, as we've seen Brooklyn have Claxton just push him in the back. I think that Boston is more confident in themselves that they would just defend him straight up, whether they double team him.
This is what's so sad. Like if you're a Nets fan, shout out Pastor Rams. If you're coming across this, like, this is how unserious we take you right now. Like we're talking about the Boston Celtics on a Nets pregame show. So
and we can't help it. Like
I'm sorry. Scotty, keys to victory.
Yes.
None. They're better.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. When you're looking at when you're looking at today's game, more from an adjustment standpoint, right? Because when we talk about keys, I think this game is going to be the same as game 2, game 3, and if they somehow lose this game, they'll be the same as game 5. It's take care of the basketball, shoot well from the 3-point line, right? Don't shoot 9 of 35 from the 3-point line. Get back in transition, like the little things, right? That like the fundamentals. Those are the keys today. There is nothing that the Sixers need to do differently. Adjustment wise, what are you looking at today? Whether that's from Brooklyn's point of view, something they could do differently, Philly's point of view, something they're going to try to do differently. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I think kind of to just piggyback off what I was saying earlier. Without Embiid today, you have an opportunity for the Sixers to once again iron out the rest of the guys, figure out what you want to do, what you're good at, what your role is going to be for this team during the postseason, and just to get comfortable. Guys are going to get more minutes. Paul Reed's going to get more minutes. PJ Tucker's probably going to have to play a little bit more minutes, right? George Niang will probably get more minutes. DeAnthony Melton will get more minutes. So guys can get ramped up, get ready for that Boston series. But nonetheless, when you look at it from Brooklyn's side of things, I think this could, kind of shock them in a sense. And I know they have a day or so to prepare for a game plan without Embiid, but so far their whole game plan has been double Embiid, right? Force him into turnovers, make him do things out of
character,
impatience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, I'm burping there.
Celsius.
Yeah, the Celsius going through me.
But
I think, you look at it from Brooklyn's perspective, they're going to have to change basically everything they did this game. And on the other side, I feel like the Sixers are going to have a more similar game plan to what Brooklyn was presenting on the offensive end. They're going to get up a lot more threes today. It's going to be a lot more small ball type of units, lineups that we're going to see. And I think this could, put a little bit more stress on Brooklyn in a sense where you don't have this central focus. So guys are going to have the ball. I think the ball is going to move around a little bit better. And it'll be able to be spread out a little bit more. So I think that could throw Brooklyn off in a sense. And the simple truth is Philly's going to play the same style of play that Brooklyn has been playing this whole series today. And they can do it better than them. I think that's the biggest point here. When I look at Philly, it's obvious what has to happen today, right? And it's stuff that we've seen all season. Guys like D-Melt, PJ, Paul Reed, they got to step up today. Tobias, the new big three, right? No Embiid. The big three today is Tobias, Maxey, and Harden. These guys have to step up. They have to control this game today. And I do think that we see that. I think we see Harden come out. Harden's going to be pissed off. I do think we see a pissed off Harden today. And whatever that creates, I'm interested to see because he got thrown out of that game for no reason on Saturday.
Yep.
Or excuse me, when was it? Thursday. Thursday. Yeah. I'm getting my days mixed up. But he got thrown out of that game for no reason the other night. And I think he's going to come into this game pissed off. He's going to come into this game refreshed. And he's going to come into this game knowing that he's going to be the focal point of the offense. Now, when I say the focal point, I know Maxey is probably going to be the highest point scorer tonight. But Harden is going to be the guy that is going to run the offense.
Yep.
He's going to be the guy that draws the attention to get other guys open. He's going to be the engine tonight. Usually it's Embiid. Sometimes they usually split it for the most part, but he is going to be the full engine tonight on the offensive end specifically. And on the defensive end, I will say that's going to be the biggest adjustment for Philadelphia, playing without your anchor, your rim protector back there. So perimeter defense is going to be a key today. You have to stay in front of your guy. There's none of that, chase down block coming. There's no Embiid freakish 7'2", 280-pound anchor behind you protecting the rim. You're going to have to stay in front of your guy today, and that's going to be the key, which I think could lead to a higher scoring game than what we've seen so far.
That's a great point. And, Brooklyn, this could be Brooklyn's worst nightmare with no Joel Embiid, because there's nothing scarier than a shorthanded Doc Rivers-led team. So
this season, especially,
bring up the offensive standpoint and James Harden needing to step up. I 1,000% agree, because he is that guy that we've talked about since game one. Yeah. Hit those 7 threes, but shot 8 of 20, 8 of 21 from the field. Yeah. Had a very inefficient night. And you kind of see how, in game 2, when he only scores 8 points and turns the ball over 7 or 8 times, how that can look for this team moving forward. So he, for himself, needs to start to figure things out, especially tuning up for this Boston series. But, you bring up the fact that Maxey could be the highest point scorer, and I agree with you. But you could make the argument that while that's true, Harden needs to get off first and earlier.
I think that's
to
fair.
Open up that for Maxey potentially. The defensive thing is interesting here from Brooklyn's standpoint, sticking with Philly's offense. Yeah. I know this sounds weird, because when they're double and triple teaming Joel and he's finding the outlet passes, it's creating wide open opportunities, threes, layups, dunks, all that stuff. So it sounds crazy to say like this could be somewhat of an advantage for the Sixers. And obviously it's never an advantage when the MVP is off the floor.
Yeah.
However, even with him off the floor, I don't think there's anyone on Brooklyn that can play anyone on the Sixers offense star-wise straight up. Like Bridges is pretty good defensively. That's it.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anyone that's going to play Maxey straight up one-on-one, Tobias straight up one-on-one with his size, Harden straight up one-on-one with his size. And now Brooklyn has to do that. You're going to see Brooklyn play more traditional defense. There's not going to be crazy traps thrown every time at the top of the key. So how can Philly exploit things? Like, think about it this way. I know you hate to, I know our idea is to impose your will. You're the better team. Don't let Brooklyn do anything defensively to throw you off. When they're doing that, when they're throwing that many bodies at Joel, clearly Doc Rivers and the Sixers had to get out of what they normally do offensively and draw up sets and everything like that for when those traps come. The Sixers can get back to their everyday type of style of play.
Yeah.
Again, granted, it is without your leading scorer. It is without your MVP. It's without your defensive anchor. It's without everything for this team. But it also allows you to play that style of ball offensively that you probably most likely want to play, because Brooklyn's not going to throw that at Paul Reed or anybody else.
Yeah. You make a good point, because I think what we're saying here is that this could be a good thing for one game.
Oh,
Game 4, right? Like just the fact that Embiid was ruled out yesterday, they have a very short window to get prepared for a Sixers team without the focal point in the game, right? But they still do have stars. They still do have the 2 better stars on the court anyways, even without Embiid. But I think just thinking from a one-game perspective, the Sixers absolutely can pull this off and beat the Brooklyn Nets. And I would even go as far to say they are still the better team, even without Embiid on the court today.
You just said something very interesting. I want to bring up a topic that we brought up on the Game 1 pregame show. And after Game 1, specifically the first half of Game 1, you and I were texting back and forth, and I was like, you're probably right. After seeing what he's done in the last 2 games, is Tyrese Maxey better than Mikal Bridges? I'll tell you one thing, bro. I don't care what Mikal's bag looks like.
Yeah.
Mikal ain't got that killer instinct in him.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. It's like the big moments. Maxey is not afraid of the limelight, and he's not afraid to take the big shots. What did Mikal start
the night shooting last game?
Huh?
Mikal started the game like 2 for 9 or something shooting, or something crazy, I think.
Overall, he was 9 for 26 from the field, so it was a bad shooting night. Yeah, so What makes it tough for me to answer the question is because Mikal is the focal point. But in a game like today, this is where we can maybe find out. There's no Embiid in the game to take the attention away for Maxey. So now today, this is just Maxey, right? Like Harden is out there, of course. But if Maxey scores 25, 30 plus points today, that's just because Maxey's good at basketball. That's not because Joel is drawing a double team, drawing a triple team. That's the one difference that makes it hard for me to answer that question is the fact that Mikal Bridges is the number one on the Brooklyn Nets, and he is getting all of the touches. And that can go either way, right? That could lead to him having an inflation in numbers compared to Maxey, which may be the case, but it also could be the fact that he's not playing beside Joel Embiid, the MVP of the NBA, right? And that makes things a lot easier for Maxey. But the last two games, I think it's been kind of clear who the better player is so far, who's ready for the bigger moment, and that's Tyrese Maxey. And I think today we'll take that a step further, and maybe he can solidify that for us, at least for the time being, right?
Yeah.
But to your point, just to wrap up,
I was just joking.
I know I get where you're coming from because it's very close, and I think that's a
well
huge
because we saw what Mikal did in the first half of game one, and we're like, wow, like his bag's a lot deeper, he's longer, he's more complete. And then it's like, you've seen him, kind of dwindle away, and Maxey's taken over late in the game the last two games and scored 33 and 25.
And I think, what you were saying earlier, just once again about Embiid not being in the game, I think like on offense, what you're saying, like they have these traps, these like very complex defensive schemes they're throwing at Embiid. And I feel like the Sixers spend almost half the shot clock just trying to get the ball to Embiid.
So I hate it.
All the attention.
Specifically Maxey.
Yeah. So like I think if you eliminate that could make this a lot better looking on offense. Yep. Like just not spending 5 to 6 seconds trying to get the ball to Embiid, who is double covered. You don't have to worry about that. Just move the ball around the arc, dribble, drive, hit the lane, and pass, kick out the open shooters. I think you can keep it simple today without Embiid out there. You let Harden be the true maestro that he likes to be, and I think we could see a big day from Harden and Maxey today, man.
Listen, last thing here. I know Brooklyn wants to get out and run and gun, right? They want to chuck as many threes as possible. They want to speed up this pace of play, but with no Embiid on the floor,
I don't think they want to do that today.
Are you, for the Sixers, are you trying to get out in space and in transition and trying to run the floor?
Yeah, I think you have to, right? You have to get Maxey out in space, get him on the fast breaks. There's no reason to not run today, right? No reason to not.
Everybody can run except PJ.
Yeah, literally. Everybody can run, and PJ most of the time is going to be the guy getting the rebound. So he's the kick-out guy. Get it out to Harden, get it out to Maxey, and let's push it. I would say that the Sixers should come out with the same exact game plan that Brooklyn has played with all series, right? And I would even take it a step further. You want to play dirty? I would let Paul Reed and PJ Tucker play a little physical, right? Like not dirty, physical. Let them play physical today. Give Brooklyn a taste of their own medicine. Embiid's a more he's a powerhouse, but he's a more finesse player. He likes to shoot.
Well, not to mention you also don't want to use your best player in any terms of
exactly. You don't want to get him kicked out, suspended,
anything chippy. And listen, like you said, we're not trying to.
We're Jock Vaughn.
We're not trying to suggest that there should be anything dirty thrown out there. But I texted you after probably like the 15th time that they threw an elbow into Joel's back or Claxton pushed him again and this and that. And I said, time to bring Niang off the bench for 20 seconds. Like,
literally.
Nothing dirty, but bro, listen, if you're going to push Joel from behind and I don't know, if Claxton's waiting for a rebound, Niang might have to slip a hip into his hip or something.
How big is PJ Tucker today, man?
Humongous. So, listen, I know we're not giving out best bets today, but as you brought up PJ getting rebounds and being your outlet guy, I'm interested to see what his rebound total is set at prop wise. I think he's huge because if there's one thing consistently, you miss Joel, PJ isn't going to pick up any of that missing slack on the stat sheet, right? Like he might hit a 3 or 2 today, but that's not in place of Joel. His assist totals aren't going to go up. His rebounds might go up a little bit, but like he's not going to be the leading rebounder probably today. He could, but who knows? But I doubt it. If there's one thing he's going to bring that he's brought in all 3 games, it's that energy and it's the hustle. And with Joel off the floor, you want to see that continue because that's something the Sixers can control. You're missing your best player. You're missing the MVP. If the offense is a little sluggish because of it, if you struggle from that area today, defensively, you're getting beat at the rim a couple times, you're missing him. You're missing your anchor. What you're not missing is responsibility and energy and hustle and heart. So I think PJ Tucker, from that perspective, being that leader that he is, can translate that to Paul Reed. I mean, dude, hell, halftime of game 1, I don't know what was said. If he gave him a little nudge, he got into Paul Reed in the locker room and said, "Yo, dude, this is some bullshit what you're bringing in the first half.
What are the odds? What are the odds that we get a Paul Reed masterclass today? And by masterclass, I'm thinking anywhere from 12 to 15 points." 8 to 10 rebounds. What are the odds that we get that from Paul Reed? Is this his opportunity to come out today?
I think it is, man. And I think
he's young. He can match their energy.
Stay out of foul trouble, which he has done pretty successfully the last couple of games, but that's in a very limited 10-minute role.
Talking about 20 plus
not
minutes.
Not a starting role today.
Yeah.
If he can stay out of foul trouble, I think he has a very successful day because I think if he shows that responsibility and that matureness early on by not picking up stupid fouls or too quick fouls, his leash will be longer with Doc, even if the first couple shots or layups don't go. But if he comes out and he's got 2 fouls in the first 6 minutes of the game, you might see small ball. Unfortunately, we might see Dwayne Dedmon or Montrezl Harrell on the floor. By the way, not campaigning for either. It better be Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah.
Throwing that out there right now.
Yeah. I don't want to see either of them, but
but I definitely don't want to see Dwayne Dedmon on the floor.
At least Trez will do something physical out there. But
and offensively potentially.
Exactly. But yeah, man, I think it's interesting because you look at Paul Reed, and I mean this in no disrespect to Joel. It's just, Joel's on a different plane as far as where he's at as a player. Paul Reed is just going to do exactly what Harden says. And when Harden's running the offense and he tells you to get to this spot, Paul Reed's just going to go to that spot, set the screen, and do what he's supposed to. So I think that's another benefit along with having Embiid out just for one game, right? One game. We're talking about the Sixers need to win without Embiid in the postseason here. I think that's one benefit that you could see. And also just the fact that, Paul Reed's a little bit younger. He brings a little bit more energy. He's going to be able to kind of stick with Claxton. I think he'll be able to run with him. You see Claxton get out on the break sometimes, get some oops. I think Paul Reed will be able to stay with him a little bit better today as well.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. Look, with that said, there's not much else to break down within this game. There wasn't a lot to begin with, man. The Sixers are the better team. Without Joel Embiid, the Sixers are the better team. So with that said, give me your prediction for today and give me your X factor, your star of the game for the 76ers.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with the Sixers win. Obviously today, we're getting the brooms out. We're gonna have some brews, some mixed drinks. We're gonna celebrate today as we get into. Hopefully, man. Let me say this: these Phillies, man, they better not drain the juice out of me today, man. I'm telling you, bro. If the Sixers get this W without Embiid and sweep the Brooklyn Nets in Brooklyn, I better not have the Phillies draining my juice later.
13-0.
I swear, bro. I don't care. I do care if they lose. I care if the Phillies lose, but do not lose with a 0.
Like a week ago.
Get some runs up for me. Get some runs. Keep my juices flowing. Keep them flowing for the rest of the day. We got a nice boxing match tonight. We got a nice day.
Some
here.
UFC's on the card tonight.
Let's not ruin it, man. Let's not ruin it.
Absolutely.
With the Phillies over. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Sixers win today. As I mentioned earlier, I think that we're not going the best bet route of the total today. I'll give you a forewarning there. We're done with that. But I do think the Sixers actually get over their suggested total in the sports books. I believe it's at 105.5. I have the Sixers winning today in a closer game, 110 to 103, 7-point margin there. there's a ton of guys you can go with as your X factor today because Embiid is out. D-Melt came to mind. I think he could have a very big impact in this game. He had a big impact in the last game. I think he could have a bigger impact in this game. Paul Reed, PJ Tucker, so on and so forth, right? But my eyes go to Tyrese Maxey, the guy that has gone big in the last 2 games and have ultimately been the driving force behind these Sixers win, at least on the offensive end of the floor. I got to go with Tyrese Maxey. I think he scores 30 plus again today, similar to game 2. I see another multi 3-point game for him. You look at Maxey in the first 3 games of this series, 23.7 points per game, 4 rebounds. He averages a steal per game in this series so far. But it's the shooting, it's the efficiency, man. Austin Crow came on here and told us it's hard to believe.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that he is literally in the conversation for the best shooter in the NBA. He's one of the most efficient shooters in the NBA. He's shooting 54.2% from the field. He's shooting 53.8% from the field in this series. I mean, that's insane. And it's not like he's shooting, 4 3-pointers.
The volume's there, man.
8+ 3-pointers a game. He shot 13 in game 2, I believe. So he's shooting it higher volume, higher efficiency. I think that means that Maxey is prone to have a big game today. He's going to get more shots. But that I don't want to leave Harden on the side there. I do think Harden has a game today. I think he comes ready. I think he comes pissed off. But I'm going to go with Maxey and the Sixers win.
So I agree with you. I had the Sixers winning today. You mentioned the day we're about to have and celebrating, and I think it perfectly encompasses what we've been saying on this show since January 1st.
Yeah.
Like, enjoy this team. They're different. If they come out and sweep today without Joel Embiid and it's the first sweep since what, 91 or 8? I forget what season it was. I think 1991 was the last time they swept a team in the postseason. They're proving to you that they're different. They're fun. They're exciting. Enjoy it. Celebrate it. Because with what's on deck, we'll get into that next week, potentially. Yeah. It ain't going to be all sunshine and rainbows throughout next week. So enjoy it right now. I have the Sixers winning in this one. I think that it's obviously a competitive game when you're missing the MVP of the league. You would expect a downtick in production and allow Brooklyn to hang around for a little while. But I have to believe in James Harden. I have to believe in the leader that PJ Tucker is. For my star, I thought you were about to say, you said Tobias Harris is my star today, man.
I like it.
Because I'm looking for.
We didn't talk about him much.
No,
in the show. Yeah,
and I'm looking for that consistency. Over 20 points in game 1 and game 2. I think he finished in the mid-teens last game. Started the game hot, obviously, but you look for him to exploit those mismatches with his size, and he did so incredibly well in game 1. Hit that clutch 3 when they were down by 5 late in the fourth quarter. Tobias Harris, even though he didn't eclipse 20, still had a hell of a game the other night. Missed 2 layups. He needs to figure that out. But no, I'm looking for that consistency. And guess what, Toby? You're not the 4th guy today.
Yeah.
You're the 3rd guy. And at times, depending on what James you get shooting-wise today, you could be the 2nd guy behind Tyrese Maxey. Because if James is having an off day from 3 and he's not getting calls and getting to the rim, Tobias Harris is going to be asked to step up today. And I think you get that. I mean, what was that Bulls game? The one game that Joel missed. I mean, my God, Tobias Harris – when they blew them out and the starters barely.
Yeah, it was when they went to Chicago. I think exactly
Tobias Harris had like 24 points and like 8 assists, dude. It was utterly ridiculous what this team was doing. And that was in like one half. So I'm looking for him to continue his consistent play because he's going to be greatly, greatly needed and important next series versus the Boston Celtics, man. So
I think
it's going to be interesting and it's going to be fun.
That's a great call out because that game, this is a very similar game, I would say, to that Chicago matchup in a sense. He had 20 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. So, yeah, he was borderline triple-double in that game. So, we need that Tobias to show up today. That Harden, right? We need all of them to show up today. You're missing your MVP. Everybody's got to show up and show out. And I think throughout this season, we've seen the Sixers be able to do that no matter who's been out, right? We've had times without PJ, without Harden, without Maxey, without Embiid, without Tobias. So we've seen it all. this team has stepped up almost every single time, whether it's D-Melt, somebody else off the bench, George Niang, Paul Reed, whatever the case may be. These guys have stepped up in these opportunities before, and I expect them to do it in the biggest moment today.
I agree with you, man. Guys, with that said, that is going to wrap up this edition of Pregame Live, Sixers Nets Game 4, Round 1. Guys, if you're new to the channel, like I said in the beginning, don't forget to check us out on Twitter first at DSM_media. Hit that follow button. We greatly appreciate it. While you're over on the channel, check out the link tree in our bio. It'll take you to every social media platform we are available on: IG, TikTok, Facebook, all that good stuff. But if you guys want to be interactive throughout any of our shows here on DSM Media, if you want to catch any of these DSM pregame lives, make sure you are subbed to the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. And it is, like I said, the best spot to get your comments pulled up on the screen with us. For myself, for Scotty, enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go Sixers. And see you guys on Monday.
Let's go Sixers.